are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Rob Fields. I am the Director of Member Development here at PMA, and I want to welcome you to this webinar in our ongoing series of webinars. We are definitely trying to bring you guys the topics and insights that are most needed, and by the response to this webinar, we're seeing that this is a hot topic in the area of mobile. Before we get started and before I hand it over to Steve Roberts from ShopText, I wanted to go through a little bit of housekeeping here. First of all, you all are right now in a listen-only mode, which means the only people you'll hear right now are myself while I'm on and Steve Roberts when he starts his presentation. If you have questions, please direct them through the question panel in the lower right-hand corner of your toolbox. We will be monitoring the questions and teeing those up after Steve has gotten through his presentation. One of the big questions that always comes up on these is, will the presentation be available? And yes, we will be sending out a link to download the presentation probably by tomorrow morning. But yes, you all will get the presentation, and I'll probably repeat that for the folks that come in later. So without further ado, I want to switch this over to Steve Roberts and welcome him and thank him for joining us. And today we're going to talk about maximizing promotional media using the mobile channel. And Steve, I am making you the presenter, and if you hit the show my screen button, you're all ready to go.
All right,
You're in.
That. Ready to go. Okay, thanks everybody. Today what I thought we'd do is walk through some of the areas and ways that people are approaching mobile in the marketplace, and some of the pitfalls and questions that many people have, and really kind of get at how mobile is different and how you can use mobile as a channel as opposed to a media asset or another way to access websites. The first thing I want to start with is that just to look at advertising today, the way that a lot of ads work is you take your TV, radio, newspaper, magazine, out-of-home, packaging media. A lot of the offline media drives a consumer online. And when you get the consumer online, you basically want two things. You'd like to get their address and you'd like to get an email. Fulfillment in the sampling sweepstakes world is hitting a database for your sweepstakes, sending off a sample from your fulfillment center, coupons actually being mailed or print at home, and then brochures for product, new product information, etc., whether they're PDF'd or physically mailed. So taking offline media drives somebody online. That sort of approach.
Steve?
Yes.
Steve? Hey, I'm sorry, it's Rob. Could you minimize your toolbox up there with the double arrows on the side? I think people are still seeing the toolbox on the GoToWebinar set.
That, let me see. Okay.
Next to where it says File Options.
File.
The double arrow, Hide Control Panel.
I don't actually see that.
Okay, there's a double arrow toward the top of the GoToWebinar box.
Let's go to webinar box.
Yeah, and there should be a double arrow. There you go.
That's it?
That's it. I see it there.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Sorry about that. Okay. So then when if you take that approach and drive consumers online, or you're used to thinking about the screen for advertising on TV, a lot of the approach is, all right, we're going to either put the website content into a mobile phone, or we're going to run ads, i.e. banners, in a 1 by 2 inch screen. And that can be effective. There are a bunch of companies, whether it's AdMob serving banners and impressions on WAP sites. There's another company like Mobile Posse, which has pretty interesting technology with a screen and image that are actionable. But that kind of approach can sort of cause you to miss out on some of the opportunities that are out there. And what's happening is, as mobile's evolved, any of the initial mobile promotions were all around voting, like American Idol, to sweepstakes where at the end of the sweepstakes, the carrier or aggregator or your mobile partner says, here's the one person that you can contact who's the winner, and you've missed out on a ton of opportunities to engage and capture data. Mobile content around ringtones and wallpapers, etc., and anything to do with mobile commerce was about charging your mobile phone bill. Verizon would charge you for those ringtones and wallpapers and games. As you move from the world of what was on deck, where the carriers were really looking at a walled garden kind of setup, now with Android and everything that's happening with the iPhone and accessing the web from the phone, now in the off-deck world, you're getting some really interesting applications for search via SMS, incredible mobile content capabilities, all the way through ad-serving functionality that in some cases is getting close to what you can do on the web. And now apps are being developed, not just for the iPhone, but now the BlackBerry, and people are building WAP sites, essentially internet sites that you could access on the phone, and everybody knows about Twitter. And all that is about off-deck, off the carrier deck, accessing information and doing what you want to do wherever you want to do it. But if you stop for a second and think beyond the screen and you start to look at the mobile phone as a channel, it behaves very differently than the way consumers interact with emails from you or any of your other media. The reality is the phone is an extension of all of us. We've all got our mobile phone on us. It's normally always on, and we are using it to really be in control of anything we want to do. Everything with mobile is around pulling. The consumer is pulling the information in. It's only if you have a double opt-in, according to the MMA guidelines, that anybody's going to be pushing a message or an offer to the phone. So everything is about pull and getting the permission from the consumer to communicate with them, just like you do with email online. But the kind of things that you need to be thinking about sending consumers are completely different. We've seen some of our clients create a mobile club and then send an alert or an offer alert that says, hey, don't forget to pick up such and such product at this store. We recommended that they not do that. In 3 hours, they lost 65% of their opt-in list. So when you're using the phone, just think about it for yourself. It's personal, and you're trying to basically get things done. You're going to access a piece of information. You're going to click on your Google app and see exactly where you are and how you're going to get to the next place you're going. And some of the stuff that's happening in the live social networking is pretty incredible, where we can either help each other swarm to a place, to a particular event, or I can actually identify people that are near me that I don't want to see, and I can see those on the phone. So the application and activity here is totally around the consumer, and you need to play to that in a completely different way than you're used to with email marketing. So, the question really gets down to, where do I start? There are a gazillion different things that I can be doing, whether it's thinking about the screen and getting our website on the screen, or coming up with our own app and how are we going to configure this for new phones, who are the right people to use, etc. And if you just back up for a second and stop, and just to compare the screen to what's going on in SMS, this is data from 2008 that shows 95% of all the phones in the United States are text-enabled. We are, amazingly, at 68% of phones are WAP enabled. But one of the stats, WAP is meaning you can access the internet from your phone. One of the stats that is really amazing is the actual percentage of people who use the phone for texting has doubled from this number, almost doubled from this number that you're seeing here. But WAP, even though you've got the capability, a much smaller percentage of people have actually used the WAP capability on their phone. And that's going to grow over time. And obviously apps are now taking a much bigger role, particularly on the iPhone. And some of the stats that I just like to share, now these are the current stats from November 08 from M-Metrics, but when you look at 260 million wireless subs in the U.S., 95% of the phones are text-enabled. What's happened with texting is we are now at 2.5 billion text messages a day. It was 1 billion a day in 2007. In the first half of 08, it got to 2 billion. So this channel is being adopted at an incredible rate. Nielsen says 123 million people are active texters. That means they're sending at least one text a month. And when we meet with brands, one of the things that's in everybody's head is, oh, well, texting, that's really for teens. But it's always amazing. When you break that 123 million out by age group, what you can see is there are more 45 to 54-year-olds, physical population in millions here on the left, texting than teens. And what I've got in the blue bars is the data of what Nielsen qualified as active texters in 07 and versus November of 08. And what you can see is the dramatic growth in people who are texting is occurring in the older demographics. So what's going on? What's going on is if you're 24 and under, you basically use the texting as a way to communicate with your friends. And I'm out here in this 45 to 54-year-old bar now, and I don't really text my peers. It's natural for me to email them, but I have 3 boys, a senior, a sophomore, and an 8th grader, and the only way my wife and I get a hold of them is to text them. And because the 24 and unders use it so much, it's causing a disproportionate growth in these population sets in the older demographics. And now you're sort of getting a profile or a population chart that's starting to look like the population at large. To the extent that this group out here has grown so much that the average age of texters is now 35 years old. And even in 2006, texters 45 to 65 were growing 7 times faster than the teen segments. So the major message here is that this is not a channel or platform that applies to products or offers for younger demos. This applies to everybody, and I can show you we've run programs in More magazine, for example, targeting 40 to 50-year-old women that have been incredibly successful from a response and a conversion standpoint. Most of the people under 30 are 4 times more likely to respond within minutes to a text message versus a voice message. That's a great stat, but people 24 and under, many of them don't even set up their voicemail account. I know my boys don't. A voicemail, calling in to get a voicemail and managing it to them is, sort of archaic. It's like we think about a fax machine today. Now, so how can you change what your approach is to mobile and move away from, for a second, thinking about it as a screen where you're going to put content and banners and potentially let people access your website? What if you looked at the mobile phone as if it's a point-and-click device, as if it's a handheld mouse? And instead of having the consumer go online to fill out that form that when they get to your site, they're going to register for a sweepstakes or a sample or a coupon, you're going to pop up a form that says, please enter your name and address and email. What if you could just do that with a text message instead of a mouse click. This is the kind of work that we're doing with our clients. This was General Mills launched the Chocolate Turtle Chex Mix. This is a one-page ad in All You magazine. And, normally you'd say free sample in this ad, and you'd steer them to go to www.generalmillschexmix/sample, and the consumer could go there. But reality is here, I'm reading a magazine. I am most likely not online, and I'm probably not going to remember that URL when I get home, and I may forget about this. What they did was insert a call to action where you can text Chex Mix to 467-467. For those of you who don't know, this is the keyword, Chex Mix. 467-467 is a short code. And right away with our system, without anybody pre-registering, we ask them to reply, and we capture the consumer's address and email. We route that to their fulfillment center. So we connect this ad directly to the sample fulfillment center. When they ran this in freestanding inserts in Chicago area, the keyword was Chex. So Chex equals freestanding insert, Chex Mix equals All You magazine. In real time, we measured response, which is how many people texted Chex Mix, to our system, which is just like clicking on a banner, and conversion, meaning how many people actually provided the address and an email that the brand was seeking to acquire. So that's the kind of program where you can take any of your offline media, connect it, whether it's a sweepstakes, a coupon, or a sample, directly to fulfillment, and basically look at all of your existing media, including packaging and any kind of receipt programs that you've got, and begin to create your direct-to-consumer channel, your equivalent of email in the mobile world, where you can actually push messages or offers to consumers, and then start to engage them with text to win, text to try, text to get rewards, and start to move into driving them to store, text to save, text for rebates, and ultimately text to order. You can do all of these kind of things from your offline media while you're also thinking about what do you want to do on your websites, what do you want to do in any apps, and build your mobile club anywhere you're touching consumers. What that means is you can take all of that media, hook directly to ads, measure your offline media response and conversion in real time, just like you measure it online. Many of our clients, while we're sending off data to a fulfillment center, also like us to pass it directly into their CRM database, and then obviously add on the mobile channel as a new way to connect to consumers. So back to the initial slide that we started with. Take all of your existing media, and in addition to or instead of driving the consumer online to request the $1 off coupon for the V8 V-Fusion, why not let them text Fusion to 467-467, capture the address and email, get your media reporting, pump it into the CRM, and now various methods are out there today to be able to deliver that value to the consumer. So let's just walk through those for a second, because there's, the fulfillment part is really interesting here, and you need to be pretty aware of what kind of capabilities retailers have, what kind of things they'll actually do. One way is we could offer a coupon that is actually, I can just bring it into store. That coupon could be mailed to me, or I could print it at home. Another way is to, and there's been some articles in here about various trials going on where I could actually send the barcode of the coupon to the mobile screen. The reality is you've got to look at what retailers can physically read the barcode on the mobile screen, because the reflection in the screen, if you do not have a 2D barcode reader, it's really unable to be read by traditional grocery scanners that we're used to. Another way to do this is to send the offer directly to the loyalty card. and I'll show you the kind of things we're doing to activate that. Working with a bunch of CPGs, media companies, partnering with agencies, and also retailers. I'll show you the kind of thing we're doing on the CPG front with Food Lion. And what I thought I'd do is just take you through a couple of examples of samples that we've done with Procter & Gamble, J&J, and more, where essentially there's a call to action in any of these ads. The brand is capturing address and email, and we're sending that off directly to the fulfillment center. Here's a program that's in a funny shape because this is on airplane tray tables right now across U.S. Air to essentially make people aware of the new granola nut clusters. And it's a fairly straightforward application, what you have to do there. Even with retailers, this is a two-page ad in Fitness Magazine, so imagine the middle of the page is right here. Just by texting CVS to 467-467, you could get one of these tote bags filled with all sorts of product and a $5 gift card. Don't everybody try to do this. It's already, this program's over. But they provisioned for 1,000 of these bags, and again, it was just only promoted in fitness. The reality is that it went live at midnight at 12 o'clock, and at 12:04, these were gone. 20,000 people wound up doing this execution, and as soon as the 1,000 were gone, we switched this to a sweepstakes to win one of 150 CVS gift cards. And the kind of reaction that you get from people is amazing. This is a person who blogged on Mommy Saver's Attic. Holy cow, I just got my fitness tote from the text. Making this kind of offline media interactive and something showing up at the home is a pretty interesting phenomenon for them because it brings it to life, and they did it the moment that they saw that. Some of our clients have used literally 28 keywords to track their sweepstakes entries. Coleman here does every year the Great Gear Giveaway. They actually, even on the website, you could text camping to enter that form instead of typing it in on the web. They had it on propane tanks, 5 radio markets, 5 newspaper markets, sweepstakes for the Wii. We've done gift with purchase. So these are the kind of programs that you can do, either ask consumers for a UPC code and or print specific codes on receipts, which we've also done. We did that program with JCPenney for that, so that not only is the brand leveraging the media, they're driving a transaction and then engaging the consumers to get a free makeup bag. And there's various, executions of that. When it comes to in-store, this is the kind of thing every year for 7 years that Wawa has done. They have a seasonal sweepstakes. This sign that they normally do simply says, go to tastycake.com to register. That's traditionally what they've done. The reality is I'm in the store. I'm not online. And, so we could put a call to action there to capture the same address and email information that the consumer wants or that the brand wants to capture and let them do that right on the fly. The challenge here was they actually wanted to have a proof of purchase. So this little yellow football, we had 3 million codes on these scratch-offs that were placed on Tasty Cake products. So when that code hit our system, we knew you were registering for the Eagle Seasons tickets and we registered you. Say, thanks, you're registered, eat another Tasty Cake to win. And what's just launched is, you see on the right there, is now it's baseball season. And this is physically printed on pack right in the manufacturing line. So if you want to take a second to think about couponing and driving consumers to store and how it could actually be used for sampling. Imagine a consumer walking into the store to fulfill on a sample without you having to mail one. This is the kind of thing that's possible. Campbell's launched V-Fusion. They could have put a barcode in the New York Daily News, but had they done that for a free 46-ounce bottle, it probably wouldn't have been a very successful program because people could just photocopy it and go to the store. But with a call to action like this, we physically captured the address of the consumer and had this 4x6 postcard, first class mailed, in the mailbox in 3 to 5 business days. And I can tell you that the redemption rates on this blow away FSI redemptions that you've seen. Even if you want to do something where, if you are the type of brand that has a website, you want to do promo codes, this is a very straightforward thing to do. Have a promo code that is delivered to the mobile phone that can be used online. Also, there are many stores, say non-grocery type environments, whether it's a Subway franchise, etc., who can take promo codes and use those at the register. This is the kind of thing where the loyalty card in a grocery environment is pretty important to be able to deliver the kind of seamless experience for consumers. This is a picture of the Catalina turnout that occurred when certain MVP card members actually swiped their card. Food Lion was looking to capture the address and information of these cardholders and offered them $3 to update their information by texting MVP to 467-467. Incredibly successful campaign. I think this was 10 times the response rate that they normally get from Catalina coupons. So again, mobile phone's about giving people the chance to engage on the fly, and they can. And just to show you, these are statistics from the programs that I just showed you and many more, but online, according to ComScore, 0.1% of all banners are now being clicked on. So if I had a banner for a free sample, I could click on that. When the web form pops up that says, please enter your name and address and or email, I'm being nice here to say that less than 10% of the banners that are clicked on, less than 10% of those people that click on that banner will actually fill out their name and address. Across the programs you've seen, we've hit up to 1.5% of the media impressions, of the offline media impressions, in terms of a response, people texting in. And we've averaged north of 80% for the last 2 years when a brand's looking to capture a name and address and email for promotions. So that is that's the presentation, and I'm happy to take any other questions that you have.
Great, Steve. Thank you very much. We do have a few questions here from some of the audience members, so I'm going to go through the questions. The first one from Laura wanted to know, what was the response to the Chex Mix promotion? How many text conversions? How many text conversions? Text conversions, excuse me.
Yes, okay, so when you look at any of the way we look at print is to say what was the actual paid circ where that occurred. So when you look at, I think it's All You magazine, and you look at the number of response and conversions that we had, it is exactly on that average that I showed you in the end. Okay, it is at the end of this presentation. It's not 1.5% of the paid circ and or media impressions with over 80% conversion. The kind of thing that we're doing is, just imagine a little print ad where we could send 5,000 unique individuals to your fulfillment center for a sample. That's the kind of thing that we're seeing that's pretty consistent across any of these programs.
Laura, I think I've been unable to unmute you. Do you have any follow-up questions for Steve based on that answer?
Nope, that answered it. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Next question, let's see. Scott Freeland wants to know, in the checks and V8 examples, how/at what point is the street address data captured? Is it with the initial text, or is additional action required on part of the consumer?
Yes, there's additional action required, and the nicest thing for all of us on this phone that are involved in promotion in the promotion world would be for as soon as that mobile telephone number hits a system that we could find out what that consumer's address is. when a person texts in, we can see that they are a Verizon or AT&T or Sprint consumer, and we obviously see the mobile telephone number. The carriers today are really protecting the data associated with that account and are not enabling us today to hook into that data to say, okay, I just have this telephone number who's texted me, may I please have their address? We're not there yet. We're talking to them about it. We're not there yet. So what we're doing is essentially two things. We've hooked into landline and VoIP, so if you have cable telephone at home, landline and VoIP databases, so that we are able to retrieve the address and have it pop up on your phone from those databases, number one. Number two is we've also built routines because today in the United States, 20%, and actually maybe more, I haven't seen an updated stat in about 3 months, but 20% of households in the U.S. now are mobile only. People are just turning off their landlines and even their cable phones and just going mobile. For anybody that does not have a landline or VoIP, we start with building the address for them as quickly as we can, which is reply with a zip code. We actually pull the city and state so that the consumer doesn't have to sit there and text that. Then all we need is street address and name, and we'll assemble the whole address the same way that we do when we pull it right away from the databases. So it adds 2 extra steps. But going back to the statistics, when we say 85 or north of 80% conversion, that means anybody, whether you're mobile only, whether you have a landline, whether you had a restricted number, or whether you texted us and went into a tunnel, that's our average. Okay, it's north of 80%. So the key about this is making the consumer experience really easy. We're not asking them to go somewhere and pre-register. They can do it right on the fly. The next time they text in, that information is tagged to their mobile telephone number, and we just say, if I saw the V-Fusion first and I signed up for that coupon to get that sent to my house, and then I ran into the Chex Mix Chocolate Turtle, when I texted in for Chocolate Turtle, it would say, thanks, your sample's on the way. That's it. Unless the brand was looking for additional information like my birthday or to ask me a question, only those incremental pieces would be asked. So, you know, there are a ton of mobile marketing companies out there doing great work in what's called mobile marketing, and they're about driving messages. The reality is we are trying to minimize the number of messages because we want to essentially drive or maximize the promotional transaction successes. So maximize the number of sweepstakes, coupon, sample deliveries with the fewest possible messages.
Cool. Scott, I see from the dashboard that you are listening via your computer. Speakers, don't know if you have a microphone there. If so, I've unmuted you. Any follow-up questions? Probably not able to talk. Okay. Sorry. Just checking. And I know Jim Blumberg, hi Jim, had a similar question about capturing the mailing information, but it sounds like you've gone through that pretty thoroughly. Any further questions on that, Jim? If so, we're going to go on to another question. Text me another question. Text me a follow-up if you need to. You're also listening via your computer speakers. Next question from Greg Pedone. I hope I said that right. He asked, how do the response rates you showed differ by age groups? That 80%, I think he's asking about, the 80+%.
It's been incredibly consistent. We've seen, I would say, very little fluctuation. In fact, one of our records on the commerce front, because we're also enabling consumers to buy product directly, is in More Magazine, which is a 40 to 50 year-old target female, and that is it's our record. It's 74% of the people made a $100 donation to Susan G. Komen for the cure with a text message that we had never seen before in our system. So, I think it really is, quite frankly, the response is driven by the offer and the call to action. Some call to actions, as you can see in the kind of examples I showed, some are better than others. Some are really easy to see. We have had a lot of, let's say, dialogue, probably as nice as I can put it, with agencies around creative and what's really going to drive, a response from a consumer. And the reality is, the more compelling and bold and easy to see the call to action, the better the response. So what we've seen is that if you have some small script and it's embedded, the call to action is embedded there, and it's not something that jumps out at you right away, that's going to drive your responses, the number of people that you engage, down from, let's say, 1.5 down to as low as 0.2, 0.1, similar to banner type executions. But even though you have a lower response, what's very consistent is the conversion. Our conversions are, again, the average is north of 80%, but they'll range in 70 to 80, 85%. Our record is 94% conversions that we did for Coty fragrances for a sample program. But, call to action and offer really influence the number of responses.
Oh, very cool. Any final questions before we close out here? Here from Suzanne Scott wants to know, if you go back to the Women's Fitness CVS program, what did Vaseline, Playtex, et cetera, gain?
What did they gain? Well, basically, what this wound up being for CVS, Pantene, et cetera, is a trial program. You got 1,000 people with product in their hand, and they have 1,000 people, and now more, depending on how many of the sweepstakes cards were awarded. But then they had 1,000 people with a $5 gift card to come back in. So whether or not the people that trialed these products wound up going to CVS to buy them, I don't have that data. But essentially, this is a giant sampling program. We've done a similar one with that was purely with J&J products, Neutrogena, et cetera, and actually had consumers pay to receive the package of samples. So it essentially covered the shipping and fulfillment cost. That was also very successful. The other thing that is kind of a natural, if you're going to be mailing a sample to consumers, it's a no-brainer to put a coupon in. So once you get the sample in their hands, then the second is, why not give them the ability to walk into the store with a coupon and actually try it, buy it.
I'm just checking for any further questions. I don't see any further questions. I think that's it for right now. Steve, thank you very much. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
As I mentioned to everyone at the top of the call, I know that there are some folks that joined us after the call got underway. We will be sending out a link to download this deck probably by tomorrow morning. So you will get a copy of the deck along with Steve's contact information should you have any further questions. We, again, want to thank you all for joining. Want to thank Steve for presenting this afternoon. We're back on Thursday, this Thursday in 2 days, with another webinar on sampling, on more offline sampling by one of our longtime members, Art Averbrook, who's doing a webinar on smarter sampling. I know many of you have signed up for that one as well. So we will see you back here in cyberspace on Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern for a webinar on smarter sampling. Let's see. Oh, wait, is there more? Nope, no more questions. So anyway, again, want to thank Steve Roberts and ShopText. And Steve is a member of our Digital Center of Excellence, which we encourage more of you to join if you're members. And yeah, look forward to talking to you and seeing you here back on PMA webinars in the future. Thanks all.